Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So most of us have been out in nature, and what does nature make us feel? Who doesn't like being out in nature? All of us love being in nature, right? What is it that nature makes us feel? It makes you peaceful. So suppose nowadays we have very beautiful artificial plants. Suppose I give you a bouquet of fresh flower and an exact looking bouquet of artificial plants, artificial flowers. Do you think you'll feel the same when you look at both? Why not? In appearance, they could be identical. They make such beautiful artificial flowers that to the eye, you may not really see them as different. But why do we feel better with the living flowers? The feel is different. There's a consciousness in the plants, right? And the plants have a consciousness which hasn't yet evolved into thoughts. So plants have the green world, by its very nature, has a stillness in it. That's why when you're out in the green, after a while, your mind naturally becomes quiet, right? Because the environment is constantly flowing into us, and you're anywhere where you're surrounded by greenery, and if you're not lost in thought, if you're present to the nature, after a while your mind also starts getting quiet because you pick up the stillness of the green, right? So we start with words of Eckhart Tolle. We depend on nature not only for our physical survival. We also need nature to show us the way home, the way out of the prison of our own minds. We get lost in doing, thinking, remembering, anticipating, lost in a maze of complexity and a world of problems. We have forgotten what rocks, plants, and animals still know. We have forgotten how to be still, to be ourselves, to be where life is here and now. So Toll is saying we depend on nature not only for our physical survival, but we need nature to show us the way home back to our stillness. There was a reason why in ancient times the rishis used to choose forests to meditate in, because the whole ambience used to seep into them, quieten their minds and bring them back home. Whenever you bring your attention to anything natural, anything that has come into existence without human intervention, you step out of the prison of conceptualized thinking and to some extent participate in the state of connectedness with being, in which everything natural still exists. To bring your attention to a stone, a tree, or an animal does not mean to think about it, but to simply perceive it, to hold it in your awareness. Something of its essence then transmits itself to you. You can sense how still it is, and in doing so, the same stillness arises within you. You sense how deeply it rests in being, completely at one with what it is and where it is. In realizing this, you too come to a place of deep rest within yourself. When walking or resting in nature, honor that realm by being there fully. Be still, look. Have you noticed that sometimes you go to your favorite place in nature, wherever it is, Priyadarshini Park, wherever, and sometimes you feel really good, and sometimes you're walking the same place and you come back unchanged? What's the difference? Why are the two experiences different though you're in the same place? Very good. If you are in nature but not with nature, if you're just with your own thoughts, not open enough, or you're listening to music, or you're listening to something, which is all right, but then you're with that, you're not really with nature. So you're not allowing it to really enter you, you're closing the doors of your being to it, right? So when you're in nature, you need to be still and present. Even if thoughts are going on, even if you have a habit of listening to your favorite podcast or music or whatever, at least the first 10 minutes of your walk, just switch off. Just be present, whether it's to the sea or to the greenery or whatever. Just really be present to it, observe it and walk. Then depends, if it gets too much for you, okay, plug in and listen to whatever else. But you may just feel you're enjoying it so much that you don't need the sound of anything else to distract you. So do try it, because then that walk can become a meditation. You don't need to make time out. But if you're really present to nature as you walk, it's one of the most beautiful meditations. When walking or resting in nature, honor that realm by being there fully. Be still, look, listen, see how every animal and every plant is completely itself. Unlike humans, they have not split themselves in two. They do not live through mental images of themselves, so they do not need to be concerned with trying to protect and enhance those images. The deer is itself, the daffodil is itself. You know why human beings are the most unhappy of all species? We are, no? No species on earth is as miserable as man is, because we have the curse and blessing of thoughts, right? And with thought, what comes? Concern for appearing. We have stopped being content in being, We have stopped being content in being, and we have got lost in needing to appear. So mothers, these words very often we come across, I don't know them exactly, but it goes something, do not pretend, be what you are. And then there are 3-4 more lines, I forget them. You remember them? Yeah. But again and again she says don't pretend, and we are not even consciously pretending. If I ask you or anyone else, you'll say I'm not pretending, I'm living, because it's become our natural state. We constantly need to appear a certain way to people or to ourselves to be content. And when we don't appear in that way, we become unhappy, right? Whereas a plant, an animal doesn't think, it doesn't have a need to appear, it rests in being. It is what it is, it doesn't have to think how it should be to be accepted. It just takes it that there's no question of acceptance. I am what I am. So this need to appear is something that really is a catch-22 for us, isn't it? And our whole life we spend wasting time trying to appear, when we can just be. And appear to whom? Actually, every mind you're trying to appear to is not really there. We've gone into that many times, no? That every mind is really a mental construct. So you're wasting even your mind is a mental construct. For some of us, we need to appear a certain way to people. For some of us, we need to appear a certain way to ourselves. But whether it's my mind or somebody else's mind, it's a mental construct. It's not really there, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have an ontological existence. Ontological means in being, in present moment being. It doesn't have an existence. So we are wasting our life and making it the goal of our life to appear a certain way to phantoms. And Rumi says it so beautifully that no eye but his has ever looked upon the universe. And in his eye, each of us is always beautiful. No, he's become us. So if we are already beautiful in that only one eye which truly exists, why do we have, or why are we hypnotized into appearing a certain way to eyes that don't even actually exist? It's a question to ask ourselves, right? And that's the lesson we can take from plants. They have no need to appear to anyone. And because they've dropped the need to appear, they are just so beautiful. Even a child, before a child develops a mind, it has no self-regard, no self-look. It has no need to appear in a certain way to anyone. That's why it's so beautiful to us. The moment the need to appear comes, pretension comes, a beautiful thing loses its beauty. Na? All things in nature are not only one with themselves, but also one with the totality. They haven't removed themselves from the fabric of the whole by claiming a separate existence, me and the rest of the universe. The contemplation of nature can free you of that me, the great troublemaker. Beautiful, na? Very often if you're just with nature, you are less thinking about yourself, because nature has eyes, but not eyes that will judge you. You don't mind going to nature with disheveled hair, crumpled clothes, going as you are, because you won't feel judged by nature. There is an exchange, but it's not an exchange of judgment, right? So that's what it's saying. Contemplation of nature can free you of that me, the great troublemaker. You didn't create your body, nor are you able to control the body's functions. An intelligence greater than the human mind is at work. It is the same intelligence that sustains all of nature. You cannot get any closer to that intelligence than by being aware of your own inner energy field. by feeling that aliveness, that animating presence within the body. Notice how present a flower is, how surrendered to life. It just opens to the sun makes it blossom. When it's time for it to wither, it doesn't hold on, it just gives away everything. It's totally in surrender to life. The plant that you have in your home, have you ever truly looked at it? Have you allowed that familiar yet mysterious being we call plant to reach you with secrets? Have you noticed how deeply peaceful it is? How it is surrounded by a field of stillness? Do that. How many of you have plants at home? Just go to any plant and 5 minutes, don't pay attention to your thoughts. You know, in yoga we pay attention to the breath instead of our thoughts. Now instead of your breath, make the plant an object of your contemplation. Just keep looking at it, watch the wind through it, listen to it. 5 minutes, just do it and see if your mind shifts or not. It's bound to. The moment you become aware of a plant's emanation of stillness and peace, the plant becomes your teacher. Watch an animal, a flower, a tree, and see how it rests in being. It is itself. It has enormous dignity, innocence, and holiness. However, for you to see that, you need to go beyond the mental habit of naming and labeling. The moment you look beyond mental labels, you feel that ineffable dimension of nature that cannot be understood by thought or perceived through the senses. It is a harmony, a sacredness that permeates not only the whole of nature, but is also within you. Only when you are still inside do you have access to the realm of stillness that rocks, plants, and animals inhabit. Only when your noisy mind subsides can you connect with nature at a deep level and go beyond the sense of separation created by excessive thinking. Thinking is a stage of evolution of life. Nature exists in innocent stillness that is prior to the arising of thought. You get that, right? Mind came as an evolutionary rung. Plants existed, nature existed before thought came. The tree, the flower, the bird, the rock are unaware of their own beauty and sacredness. When human beings become still, they go beyond thought. There is an added dimension of knowing, of awareness in the stillness that is beyond thought. Nature can bring you to stillness. That is its gift to you. When you perceive and join with nature in the field of stillness, that field becomes permeated with your awareness. Now there's this poem, Dance of the Green. One is the complex dance of thoughts. Your thoughts are also dancing. That's one thought. One is the simple dance of the green. Your thoughts are a complicated dance. The green's dance is very simple. Without thought, the green moves. What is the movement of the green? Here is a leaf in a slow undulating motion. There, a swirling green tornado. Where there's wind, the green leaves move like a tornado. Here is the footfall of a wind-strewn blade of grass. There, the stampede of a passionate wind through its blades. So the dance of the green has all this, a slow undulating motion, a swirl, a footfall of a wind-strewn blade of grass. There, the stampede of a passionate wind through its blades. A renunciate of personal thought, the green moves. The green has renounced personal thought. That's a poetic way of saying it. It's not that the green has thought to renounce it, but it's a poetic way of saying it, that it's a renunciate of personal thought. A renunciate of personal thought, the green moves, surrendered eternally to the thought of the veiled world mother, moved by her, emanating her beauty and stillness, right? The green is in total surrender to the larger cosmic mind, the mind of the mother, moved by her as she makes it move. The green lulls the human mind to release effort. Because it is like that, by contagion, it lulls the human mind to release effort, to let go of control, to experience the free flow of being moved. See, the green never moves by its own will, right? It's constantly in a state of free flow of being moved by the divine will. So when we are with it, it lulls our mind into the same. To experience the free flow of being moved, to rest in peace in the omnipresent lap. Omnipresent is present everywhere. So the green is inviting us also to rest in the omnipresent lap, to let it carry, to let it carry forever. Okay. So I'll just read it without interruption. See if you can actually connect it to your experience in nature. One is the complex dance of thought. One is the simple dance of the green. Without thought, the green moves. Here is a leaf in a slow undulating motion. There is swirling green tornado. Here is the footfall of a wind-strewn blade of grass. There the stampede of a passionate wind through its blades. A renunciate of personal thought, the green moves, surrendered eternally to the thought of the veiled world mother, moved by her, emanating her beauty and stillness. The green lulls the human mind to release effort, to let go of control, to experience the free flow of being moved, to rest in peace in the omnipresent lap, and to let it carry, to let it carry forever. Okay, now this is from a conversation of Mona Sarkar with the mother. Mona Sarkar grew up with the mother. He asks, "It is thou who givest me my prayer. It is thou who prayest for me. It is thou who accordest me the marvelous grace, and as it is thou who hast willed it, it is already realized. What then, mother, is this game?" He asks her, "It is you who do everything in me. So what is this game?" In answer, mother writes, "It is the universal game, and it will be perfectly harmonious when men will have understood it." So currently, this is not a harmonious game because we haven't understood it. Because we don't understand it, we keep fighting. But it will be perfectly harmonious when men will have understood it. But when man will have understood, he will see that all is harmonious, that all is in its place, and that all is progressing towards him with a capital H. It is he who is the motivating force. There is no imbalance, no vexations, all is harmonious. When man will have attained this consciousness, he will see that everything is happening as it should. And we wrap our mind around this, that everything in the world is happening exactly as it should. Now, if you want to engage in mental gymnastics, you'll go to wars, you'll go to everything else, and there are no answers. But start with something closer to yourself. Start with something in your life which you find unacceptable, something which you find you're not at peace with and you feel is wrong. And apply mother's words that everything is perfectly as it should be. You're not in harmony because you're resisting it. See, the precision of her words. It's a universal game, and it will be, Payal, it will be perfectly harmonious when men will have understood it. Yeah? So when man will have attained this consciousness, he will see that everything is happening as it should. But now it's not smooth, it's noisy, there is resistance, it is not in harmony. That is why man does not yet understand. But it is something so evident, absolutely harmonious, this universal game. When man will have established this contact, it is this that is missing. That is the reason for his present condition, what one sees. I use the word understand intentionally, because when you have this consciousness or this knowledge, you will see that everything is in its place and follows a specific rule, the rule of the beyond, perfectly harmonious. When you will have found that, you will see the difference. Somewhere it is already realized. One must become conscious of it until the cells feel it and understand. To become conscious of this game everywhere in the being, then one sees that everything is perfectly harmonious. There is nothing that is out of place, because it is he who is behind everything, and it is he himself who leads each event, guides each movement in creation. So there is only peace and light and harmony. When you become conscious of it, you will see what it is. Further, Mother says, this is very beautiful. In fact, we did our yoga classes past week based on this little episode. Look, the flower has fallen to the floor. Once when Mother was giving me flowers, that is Mona Sarkar flowers, look, the flower has fallen to the floor, Mother says. I did not do it on purpose. It fell on the ground because it wanted to. In fact, it is I who wanted it to fall. Mother says, I am one with the flower. Do you think there is any difference? It's so beautiful. Mother saying, even if a flower that you are offering me falls from your hand to the floor, it is my will in the flower that made the flower fall. Now, if you don't know this game of games, you will think that it's an unfortunate, there's something bad in me, Mother's not accepting you'll build all kinds of narratives about it. But you're not in the simple acceptance of the fact that not even a flower can fall from your hand without Mother's will in it. She's saying that here, right? So Mona Sarkar asks, between you and the flower? Mother says, yes, between me and the whole universe. I am one with everything. So let's just contemplate this. It's very beautiful. Shut your eyes. We've just heard what Mother says, that even if a flower falls from our hand, it only falls by her will. So, metaphorically, let the flower be something you're scared of losing. Losing your peace of mind because of somebody's agitating behavior. Losing a relationship because the person may move on. Losing this, losing that. Think of that as a flower in your hand. And you think circumstances or the person's nature may take that particular flower away from you or keep it with you. But what if you surrender to the knowing that it's only Mother's will that will determine whether that particular flower stays in your hand or whether it drops out? If you are in surrender to that will, then you smile You don't struggle and create disharmony holding on to the flower. You hold on to the flower by trying to correct the person, criticize the person, judge the person in your mind at least, if not in words. But suppose you just allow that flower person to be as they need to be. Mother's will. If she brings you to me, so be it. It's good for both of us. If she takes you away, so be it. That's also good for both of us. If the flower is my peace of mind, which is being threatened by the person's annoying behavior, offer that also. If the person's behavior takes it away, that's also Mother's will. Everything is in Mother's will. And that gives me access to a peace of mind that nobody can take away. That complete smiling surrender to however life offers itself to me in the moment. Am I in complete acceptance of that offering? Then I have understood the game of games, the universal game the Mother is speaking about. Just 3 or 4 breaths. See if you can actually release your hold, the hold of your consciousness on that particular flower. And slowly open your eyes. Any observations, anything to share? Is this easy to do? Is it easy to really surrender that flower?
Makes you feel lighter.
It makes you feel lighter, yeah? Anyone had difficulty?
I did.
Yeah? What was the...
How do I understand that Mother's will is the same will, or am I thinking something different and Mother is saying something?
No, it's not about what you think. It's about in the moment, if you're present, one way of living is to fight with what's happening to you in the moment. One way is to accept everything that's happening as Mother's will. So then there's no question of your thought. There's no thought which comes if you live like that. See, all our worry is about thinking this will happen, that will happen. But that can't happen if you really accept that everything will happen by her will. Her will can get distorted by human ignorance. I'm not saying that everything is perfectly the action of the Lord's will. That will is there, but it's refracted and distorted through many layers of human ignorance. But the more silent and surrendered I am, at least around me the distortion will be the least. You get what I'm saying? You want to say something? Distortion is human ignorance can distort the divine will here and there. It will be fulfilled, but that's what Mother says. No, when she drew a sketch, normally men take this path to reach from here to there, but if you're following the sunlit path, you'll go here. When we distort the divine will, we'll go round and round and eventually be carried there. Otherwise it's easier by resisting or doubting. Yes. Now Mother says, the truth is that nothing is fixed, everything changes. Here she is endorsing the Buddha's principle of anicca, impermanence, that everything is constantly in flux. Outwardly one sees nothing. Ordinarily one sees an object and there is no mutation, no change. It is fixed in one place and it remains as it is. But when we have this perception of the subtle world, we see that at each instant it is a thing which is transforming itself, which is in movement, and in reality it is that. So that's what the Buddha said about nothing remaining the same, that you never step into the same river twice. By the time you put your foot into the same spot again, the river has flown past. Each person is that river. You never meet the same person twice, because by the time you meet the person the next time, the person has already changed. But Mother says something very beautiful too, which to my mind completes Buddhism. Buddha just said everything changes, so don't get attached to anything because it's impermanent. Mother's adding this: behind all these appearances which are changing, there is a force which acts, the force of the Supreme, because of which each thing changes. It is the law of creation, and it is His force which acts even in a stone. So everything changes, yes, but what governs the rate, nature of that change? The Buddha never answered that. Mother says it, that everything is changing because of that divine will working in everything, even in a stone. This is the truth behind things. It is in the subtle world that the truth of things is found. Everything is in movement. Everything advances towards this, imperceptibly towards the goal. That is why it is in movement. So beautiful. So Mother's saying all anicca, all changes are finally being moved by a will which is evolutionary. Every momentary change is leading to an eventual growth of consciousness and an evolution. Are you getting what she's saying? If you want to know the secrets of the universal nature, you must be able to open yourself upwards. Or else, if you want to know the plants, the flowers and the animals and the message they announce to the world, you must learn to open your consciousness towards them and wait with patience to receive all that they transmit. It's like this: if you are living with a roommate, you have two rooms, your roommate is next door, you're in this door, and your roommate is the best musician in the world and he's creating the most beautiful music. But if you keep your door shut between the two rooms, you won't hear that music, right? We can walk with nature, but if our door is shut, we won't hear the whispers of nature. We won't hear because we are not present to them. So that's what Mother is always telling us. It's not enough to just walk in nature. Walk in nature being really present to it. Then you open the door and the music comes in. To know how to communicate with nature, or else to receive the vibrations which she transmits, this is another way of finding the truth of existence, and also the beauty, the peace and the harmony which uphold all the worlds and the terrestrial existence. If one can communicate with nature, one learns quite a few secrets of life which can be very useful. One can not only know in advance, but one can control illness or avoid cataclysms and the devastation of nature. So you see, there are many advantages. To communicate is to find an understanding in the joy of harmony which presides over all existence, and to vibrate by its consciousness. This is something worth finding. It is a work of a lifetime. Find this consciousness and have the joy of communicating with the subtle world. It is in silence that one communicates, and expresses oneself by a sort of subtle exchange. It is an absolutely different language which cannot be translated into words as when we speak, but it is a short and precise expression and much more understandable than our language. Do not be like a block of stone. One must participate. One must participate in communicating with nature. A flower spreads a deep love and a peaceful sweetness in a unique, silent and generous gesture in a world torn by pain and sorrow. Mother says, a flower spreads a deep love and a peaceful sweetness in a unique, silent and generous gesture in a world torn by pain and sorrow. It expresses an ever-present harmony which love alone possesses. So beautiful, two lines, but they are so deep. So love, a flower expresses an ever-present harmony which love alone possesses. And because love spreads a deep love, because a flower spreads a deep love, it naturally brings harmony to the environment. Mona Sarkar asks the mother regarding a flower, Mother, are you giving it, that's a flower, to me so that I may cultivate aesthetic beauty, or is it because it corresponds to a part of my being? It is an answer to the aspiration from the very depths of your being that I give the flowers. It is a need or an aspiration. It depends on the individual. It may fill a void or else give an impetus for progress or to find the inner harmony in order to establish peace. Do you understand? Be like a flower. One must try to become like a flower, open, frank, equal, generous and gentle. So we all know that mother used to give blessings in the form of flowers, right? And Mona asked that, suppose I get a flower like loving surrender, which is the Indian rose. What does it mean? Does it mean that I need loving surrender? So mother says it's not so mathematical. I see your soul and what is the aspiration of your soul, and I give you a flower corresponding to the aspiration of your soul. So even now mother gives us flowers in different ways, right? She does. If we grow simple flower plants at home, it's funny how they'll blossom on specific days. Have you noticed that? Or somebody else can come and give you a flower. Or Vandana at Auroville, she's created this beautiful line of healing with giving flower remedies. So we are getting flowers from the mother through that. It's not that mother has stopped giving us flowers as blessings. She keeps giving them to us. She's not in her body, but she surely gives us blessings through the flowers. Happy is he who can exchange his qualities with the profound qualities of the flowers. Try to cultivate it in yourself, these refined qualities. I give you flowers so that you may develop the divine qualities they symbolize, and they can directly transmit to the psychic all that they contain without admixture. They possess a power and a very subtle and deep influence. Do you understand? In a teasing tone, now it seems to me that you wish to become like a flower or else cultivate these qualities, and you know, each flower symbolizes an aspect, an emanation, an aspiration and a progress in the terrestrial evolution. Again, mother's words. It's titled, Wherever I have placed my feet. Mother says, wherever I have placed my feet on earth, it has been blessed and has become receptive to my force. With gratitude, The earth retains the effect of the transmutation that took place by the fact that I walked on her, and that is why she expresses herself in an inexpressible joy, and nature gathers this energy which has emanated from me and sends it out to bring forth new plants and new flowers not seen before, impregnated with a new consciousness. No wonder we see how many beautiful flowers are there all over Pondi, right? That's what she's saying. Wherever I've put my feet, the earth responds and gives out these new kinds of flowers. They are astonishing, these flowers. They are distinctly different from what one ordinarily finds. They have characteristics and qualities of another plane of consciousness. They are so beautiful, and they symbolize an aspect of the new creation. Further words of the mother. I remember an incident in my life. It was a long time ago, but it's clear as if it had happened some days back. I had a fever and I was feeling uneasy. So I went out of the house for a walk in the fields to breathe the fresh air. Suddenly it started to rain, and I was in the middle of the meadows, alone with the vast sky above me and nothing all around, and it was pouring. And our conditioning tells us, now I'll die, now I'll get sick, I have fever and I'm caught in the rain. But see what mother says. And I was enjoying myself and frolicking like a little child free of worries. I was completely wet and water ran down my body. I remained like this so that the rain may wash off all my defects and all my pains and charge me with the force and energy that it contains. I felt already a sort of peace and sweetness entering in me, and the body was vibrating physically with an unknown joy, and my fever and all that gone. And I was feeling not only normal but also vigorous. In half an hour, I knew what the rain could do. For me, it truly was an experience. It was truly an experience. If man could take advantage of all that nature offers without his mind intervening, if mother had thought, I'm going to get wet, I'll get fever, she would have. He could have avoided much harm, much worry in order to live a sensible and simple life. He is afraid of doing this and that. He is terrified of breaking his mental formations, and he recoils before his habits and his past. If he were not afraid, if he did not have this fear, it is a fear which gnaws at his very existence. Payal, if he could have lived a noble and gracious life, but it is better not to speak about his miserable case and all that he lacks. The rain is like a grace that God sends to bless the earth and to purify it. It is this that gives life to nature and the animals. It has an extraordinary power of purification, and when it comes down, it vivifies nature and fills it with the joy of life. It helps us in so many ways. As soon as the rain comes, it purifies the atmosphere of all the negative formations that we throw in the air and the harmful forces that constantly try to destroy us. It makes the atmosphere clear and limpid, and in a way cleanses the atmosphere of all these impurities. There are also hostile forces that live in the atmosphere, and they are afraid of water. And as soon as it rains, they flee, and if not, they cannot, they are dissolved. That is why there's a sort of peace that is established in the atmosphere after the rain. Have you never felt it? And similarly, if we are feeling troubled, sometimes we just have a bath and we feel light, no? It's because water has this power of cleansing away any negativities that could have attached themselves to our aura. So it's always good to have a bath as the last thing before you sleep, so that whatever you've picked up during the day, you don't sleep with it on your body and consciousness. And this is a little bit of a side thing, but people who sort of harbor a lot of negative energies of depression, dullness, maybe mental illnesses like schizophrenia, they don't, like Mother says, hostile beings are afraid of water. So Mother's written somewhere that every mental illness is some act of possession. You're possessed by an entity, and so you have the mental illness. So that entity which possesses you doesn't like water. So such people will always be very resistant to bathing. If you ask psychiatrists, you'll always have to force them to have a bath because they don't like water on themselves. Not they, but the entities that work with them. In fact, if you have no fear, no shrinking, no stiffness of any sort, no resistance against the rain, not even thoughts like what will happen to me, then you will never fall ill, never. You can be soaked thoroughly, nothing will happen to you. For fear is the cause of all illness. You should not be afraid, you should not be nervous, you should not get irritated or tremble before the rain or whatever it be. Well, you will see that there is an action, just the opposite action of what you were expecting. It is like this. Nearly always we have false notions about the secrets of nature. You know, if we stand in the rain and say, let the rain cleanse me of all my defects and pains, let it bathe me in its sweetness, its peace and its energy. If we say it with the true attitude, the goodwill and detachment of a candid heart, you will see that you will emerge an altogether different person. Now another excerpt by the Mother. It's called Vegetable Talk. In Tokyo, I had a garden, Mother says, and in this garden I was growing vegetables myself. I had a fairly big garden and many vegetables, and so every morning I used to go for a walk after having watered them and all the rest. I used to walk around to choose which vegetables I could take for eating. Well, just imagine. There were some which said to me, no, 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 no. And there were some others which called, and I saw them from a distance and they were saying, take me, take me, take me. So it was very simple. I looked for those which wanted to be taken, and never did I touch those which did not. I used to think it was something exceptional. I loved my plants very much. I used to look after them. I had put a lot of consciousness into them while watering them, cleaning them. So I thought they had a special capacity perhaps. She thought that maybe these plants are talking to me because I have put consciousness into them. But in France, when she went to France, it was the same thing. I had a garden also in the south of France where I used to grow peas, radishes, carrots. Well, there were some which were happy, which asked to be taken and eaten. And there were those which say, no, no, don't touch me, don't touch me. Why did they say that, sweet mother? A question was asked to her. Well, I experimented precisely to find out, and the result was not always the same. At times it was indeed that the plant was not edible, it was not good, it was hard or bitter, it was not good for eating. At other times it happened that it was not ready, or it was too early, it wasn't ripe. By waiting for a day or two later, it said to me, take me, take me, take me. So Mother had a way of even having the plants communicate with her. And plants do communicate with all of us, but we have to develop the sensitivity to pick up that communication. This piece is called The Trees Complain. There is a huge tree in one of our bungalows, spreading itself wide, preventing the growth of other plants and trees in the vicinity. This is a piece by M.P. Pandit. The sadhak in charge thought about it for a long time, and one day he decided to cut down that old tree. When he met the mother the next day, he mentioned the matter and asked her if he could do so. He was surprised to hear from the mother that the previous night the spirit inhabiting the tree had come to her and pleaded that the tree not be disturbed and it be allowed to continue to stay there. Obviously, the spirit in the tree had understood what the sadhak had decided and thought it better to steal a march over him by speaking to the mother earlier than him. Mother asked him to let the tree alone. One day, the mother spoke to X in charge of the Auroville affairs that the large banyan tree, the banyan tree outside Matri Mandir, seemed to be in trouble, for it had come to mother the previous night and shown its distress. Inquiry was made forthwith, and they found that someone had carelessly left a huge knife stuck in the trunk of the tree after work the day earlier. So everything communicated to the mother. So now we come to lines from Savitri, page 624, famous lines, all of us know them probably. His laughter of beauty breaks out in green trees. That's the divine. His laughter of beauty breaks out in green trees. That's why trees give us so much joy, because the green of the tree is the Lord's laughter. His laughter of beauty breaks out in green leaves. His moments of beauty triumph in a flower. The blue seas chant, the rivulet's wandering voice are murmurs falling from the Eternal's harp. This world is God fulfilled in outwardness. Now this passage, page 628, it's mother's words to death. It's a dialogue between, not mother's words, Savitri's words to death. It's a dialogue between death and Savitri. So she's telling death, thy mask has covered the Eternal's face. The bliss that made the world has fallen asleep. So death is synonymous with ignorance, right? Ignorance has covered everything is the body of the Lord. That's what this last line says. This world is God fulfilled in outwardness. But we don't see this because the mask of death and ignorance has covered the Eternal's face. The bliss that made the world has fallen asleep. Abandoned in the vast, she slumbered on. An evil transmutation overtook her members till she knew herself no more. Who knew herself no more? The original bliss. An evil transmutation overtook her members till she knew herself no more. Only through her creative slumber flit frail memories of the joy and beauty meant under the sky's blue laugh mid green scarfed trees. How beautifully he writes, the sky, the blue of the sky is like a blue laugh mid green scarfed trees. The trees are like scarves, green scarves the branches are wearing. And happy squanderings of scents and hues in the field of the golden promenade of the sun, and the vigil is keeping guard of the dream light of the stars, like the stars are the guardians of the night, and the high meditating heads of the hills. So how he's breathed life into everything, like branches are living things wearing green scarves. The blue of the sky is a laughter. the stars are living guards guarding the darkness of the night. Everything is alive. And the vigil of the dream light of the stars. And the hills are like meditating sages and high meditating heads of the hills. So he's personified all of nature on the bosom of the voluptuous rain-kissed earth. So earth is like a voluptuous woman being kissed by the rain. So everything he's brought out like that. And by the sapphire tumblings of the sea. Sapphire is blue. So the blue tumblings of the sea. So it's very beautiful. I'm just reading it through again. Thy mask has covered the Eternal's face. The bliss that made the world has fallen asleep. Abandoned in the vast, she slumbered on. An evil transmutation overtook her members till she knew herself no more. Only through her creative slumber flit frail memories of the joy and beauty meant under the sky's blue laugh mid green scarfed trees, and happy squanderings of scents and hues in the field of the golden promenade of the sun, and the vigil of the dream light of the stars, and the high meditating heads of hills, on the bosom of the voluptuous rain-kissed earth, and by the sapphire tumblings of the sea. Next, page 139. The world's senseless beauty mirrors God's delight. That rapture smile is secret everywhere. It flows in the wind's breath, in the tree's sap. Its hued magnificence blooms in leaves and flowers. So the world's apparently senseless beauty mirrors God's delight, because God's delight is in everything. The rapture, the bliss of that God is, that smile is secret everywhere. Everywhere in nature we find God's smile. That smile flows in the wind's breath, in the tree's sap. Its hued magnificence blooms in leaves and flowers. So, we end here. Now, any questions? We said we'll take questions at the end. So, if any questions, anyone?
I have a question.
Loudly. Can you speak into this?
So, it's about the story of the flower falling. So, how do we reconcile it with our own personal effort? Like, for example, if I spend 1 hour scrolling on my phone versus 1 hour reading Savitri, how do I think that that was also mother's will, that I did something that's not necessarily good for me?
Good question, very good question, and it's a question that probably comes to a lot of us. Did you all get her question? So I said everything is the divine will, but working under conditions of distortion by human nature. But the human will uses the human nature also to fulfill its purposes. So you may have spent an hour scrolling and lost time, but that same will through which you ended up scrolling will make you feel that slight pang or a sense of purposelessness, which will make you hesitate from scrolling the next time. Yeah? So finally, everything is that will. If we are in harmony with it, the will acts undiluted and faster. The more in disharmony we are with it, the more problems we'll have in life, but those problems will also have a purpose. They'll bring us to a point where we'll be in harmony with the divine will. Anything else? Any other questions? Loudly. Or come here so that.
So we have been saying that Anishcha, that is everything changes. Buddha also said that, today also we said it. But isn't there that witness consciousness in us, which is the Sakshi? That doesn't change. So why did Buddha or Mother not talk about that? Mother did. So when she says everything changes, it doesn't apply to the supreme truth.
The tangible world changes. She's not talking about the Sakshi.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. So how do we bring this class into our life? Did anyone bring last week's class into their life? Did you bring anything into your life? I'm going to ask you this every class, huh? Nobody? Nothing? Yeah? Yeah? You'd have to come here, Mona, otherwise they won't hear you.
So miss, when I was there with my daughter, I had experienced a lot of time where actually I could feel the shift, and I tried to remember. I didn't have to remember actually, I just visualized your class.
But saying what specific?
Like saying that this was Mother's will. So I dropped things, there was a lot of shift, and at times there was like one particular day I would tell you that I was supposed to be with my whole family, and there when I was there with my daughter, it so happened that she was not there, my grandson was not there. On that particular day I was absolutely alone. In fact, I shared with my Jasmine, and so I cried a bit, but then suddenly there was, in a minute second, there was a drop, there was a shift. I said, no, there is some reason here why I am here. I had taken my mother's book, I read the lines, I had missed the classes, I started reading that, and it was like I was like absolutely normal. It was like I felt that I was meant to come here to give more concentration and more thought and more listening and more reading of Mother's listening. So it happened.
In just accepting that it was her will, you saw that it was her will for a purpose.
Yes.
Lovely, lovely. So how will we bring today's class into our life? By making nature our teacher. By at least spending some time. See, lots of us go for a walk, but we don't go for a walk unplugged, right? We go for a walk with something in our ears, talking to somebody on phone. So we are not really with nature. So at least 10-15 minutes of our walk, let us be present to whatever, whether it's the sea, whether it's one little plant. I know in a city you don't see thick greenery, but you'll surely pass some trees, some flowers. Be present to them. And when you're really present to nature, nature has a stillness to it because it's not developed a mind. So that stillness permeates you. Nature is really, as we said, a dance of the green, where everything is being moved by the divine will undistorted. Therefore, there is no disharmony in nature. Things live, they die, they are even destroyed, but even in the destruction there's a harmony. It's not ugly. Everything is harmonious and in its place in nature because it's completely in sync with the higher will. It has no mind which will interfere and distort that will. So being with nature invites us to be like that, to just be quiet, in surrender to the will, and just let that will carry us. To not keep interpreting life through our mind. And another thing we can learn from nature is to drop, our motivation of life for most of us, unless we worked very hard on ourselves, is to appear in a certain way in our minds or in the minds of people, right? We discussed that. and it's a completely worthless preoccupation in the long run if you go to see, because finally, as Rumi says, no eye has ever looked upon the universe but his. And we want to appear a certain way because our self-worth depends on how we appear, either to somebody's mind or to our own mind. But our self-worth is finally between us and the mother, right? She alone knows what our worth is. No other eye can know what our worth really is. So why are we so hung up on needing to look good in people's eyes? Nature is beautiful because it can't pretend. It has no need to appear. It is fully anchored in being and it shows itself as it is. And the more we are with nature, the more we become like that. We see that in people of the soil, the Red Indians, the natives. They can't pretend, they can't appear because they are so much with nature that they've imbibed this quality of just being absolutely what they are without the need to appear. So that's another very beautiful quality we can get from nature. So let's end with 3 Oms. Hands in a namaste. Mm.